Okay, for those of you who have followed Dr. Mercola for the last 20 years, you're in for a treat. He's back. And this time we're going to discuss how to build muscle. Not just, well, I'm looking at after 50 because, of course, you know, that's my age, after 50. But I think this is applicable for anyone who wants to learn how to build their muscle naturally without causing harm, which you have to break down a muscle to build it up. And so we're going to learn as much as we can with Dr. Mercola. So fasten your seatbelt. We're going to learn and grow together. And Dr. Mercola, I think it's time to dance. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and my viewing friends at facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. It is so nice to meet you on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who have been tuning in since 2011, or maybe this is the first time that you've been tuning in, I am so grateful. But please remember, this is the first time you've tuned in. I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, years before the holistic, alternative, integrative, functional industry started rearing its head and people were taking their life back, there was a man named Joseph Mercola, D.O., that was doing his investigative reporting himself. He has, for the last 20 plus years, he has truly turned this industry inside out. If you wanted to learn a new truth about medicine that was not in the mainstream media when it came to holistic, integrative, functional, and natural, you would always look for Dr. Joe Mercola. He's been blazing the trail for all of us to learn that we can heal ourselves, we can heal our bodies naturally, as well as, use different ways, not one size fits all. So what works best for you? And Dr. Mercola offers solutions for you as well. So I hadn't seen Dr. Mercola in about a year, since the last ACIM conference. And there was something remarkably different about him this year. And I made a comment. I took the risk and I said, Dr. Mercola, you're looking really good. You look like you've built some muscles. You seem like you've put on some healthy, you look really healthy, very strong. And he had shared a few of his secrets. He said, brf.mercola.com.
BFR. BFR.
BFR. Why did I say BRF? BFR. I'm a little dyslexic this morning, huh? BFR.mercola.com. And I said, okay, what's that all about? So we decided to do a class on building muscle after 50. I know it's difficult. They say muscle has a memory, but sometimes after 50, the muscle memory is more like dementia. So we're going to talk about how to unravel a new truth about building our body. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Joseph Mercola is here to do just that. Thank you, Dr. Mercola, for coming on to the classroom today.
Well, thanks for letting me be here.
Of course, of course. Now, I had seen you about a year ago, and you were slender. You've always been slender, but I didn't notice the muscles that you had. I don't know if maybe it's that you had a t-shirt on this time, maybe it was not the tux. So let's talk about your background and share your journey with health, personal health journey.
Well, I don't want to focus on myself, but I can use myself as an example.
Oh, yes.
And my parents.
I want to focus on you.
Yeah, my parents actually catalyzed this because they passed away about 2 years ago now, and they passed away from something called frailty, which is largely related to the loss of muscle mass as you age, which is called sarcopenia. It is an epidemic, and if you are over 60, the odds are of you having it are about 20%. If you're over 80, it's like 60%. So the reason why it's important to not have that is if you ever get sick and have to go into the hospital, your odds of coming out alive are dramatically reduced if you don't have significant muscle mass, because it's a reserve. It's what you need not only to move around and get up out of the chair, but if you want to live healthy and have a health span that's really high, because you can live long, but not necessarily be healthy. And I don't think anyone wants to do that. Who wants to live to be 90, crippled up and demented? That is not a prescription for joy. Yeah. So the key is when you have muscle mass, it is a dramatic way to improve your health span. And I'll tell you some of most people aren't aware of a few facts. What are those facts? Muscle is about 50% of the tissue in your body. 50%. So obviously it's an important organ, but it's also a metabolic organ. It has a lot of hormonal functions. And one of the foundational causes of all illness is something called insulin resistance, where your body, your insulin receptors become relatively blunted to the effect of insulin. And as a result, you need more and more insulin, which causes this cascade of negative effects that cause contribute to almost all the chronic diseases and premature death, of course. So what does this have to do with muscle? Well, it has to do with sugar. Your body doesn't have much sugar storage, about 3 ounces or so in your liver, and about 12 ounces in your muscle. Proportionately, your liver has a lot more sugar than your muscle. It has maybe 6-7%. Your muscle is about 1 or 2%, but you have a lot more muscle mass. So why is that important? Well, you need sugar. If you don't have sugar in your blood, and we don't have much. I mean, people don't realize that in your entire bloodstream, you only have 1 teaspoon of sugar. And if you went up to a tablespoon, you'd be dead. You'd go into hyperosmolar coma. So, but the problem is when you get too much sugar, small amounts over long periods of time, it's a massive problem. So what your muscle mass does is it's a storage sink for sugar after you eat. So that if you eat a lot of carbohydrates and you don't have a lot of muscle mass, you're going to raise your blood sugar levels quite high, and then secondarily your insulin levels to adjust to that. So, and this is okay occasionally, but if you do it chronically with low muscle mass, it's a prescription for metabolic disaster. And I've written books on this in the past. The biggest one was Fat for Fuel, and really being metabolically flexible, or having the ability to seamlessly switch back and forth between glucose and fat as a primary fuel, is really what's so important for health. But the subset of that, or a refinement of that concept, an appreciation, is to have this large muscle mass to help with your glucose regulation, and obviously to keep you able to move around and enjoy life, and be able to do the functional activities that you need to enjoy that life. So the problem is, you talked about 50, but it's probably starts about 50, but at about 60, the drop is even more dramatic. Okay. What happens? Well, we start to lose muscle mass, as I mentioned, but why? So if we know the reason why, we can start to hack it and address the foundational reasons, and then get the benefit of that. So the primary reason we believe is that as we age and we move less in specific ways and types of movement, we have a decrease in what's called the microcirculation. And that's, I'm sure people have heard of the term capillaries. That's your really tiny blood vessels where only like one single red blood cell can squeeze through. And that's your microcirculation. And you have venules that come out of that, and arterioles that go into the capillaries. So that whole process of your microcirculation decreases as you age. So the practical challenge becomes, well, how do you increase it? Because if you don't, there are stem cells in your muscles, particularly, you have two types of muscle fibers, type 1 and type 2. And type 2 is primarily responsible for having you maintain your muscle mass and strength. And there's stem cells associated with these type 2 muscle fibers. And these stem cells only function and work when they have blood flow through the microcirculation. And if the microcirculation decreases with time as you age, then the stem cells don't work anymore. You can have stem cell transplants. It's not going to work because they need the nutrition from the blood, primarily the oxygen and the ability to transport waste products out. So the key is improving that microcirculation. And there's only a few things we know that do it. Historically, the best way to do that was a high intensity exercise, where you're really moving very fast and hard, and you're activating these type 2 muscle fibers.
Okay.
So, what happens? There's now that's historically. In modern day times, we have two additional ways to do that. One is with a treatment called hyperbaric oxygen, where you go into a chamber and there's a variety of different pressures you can use. But what that does, we know, is it increases some hormone responses in your body, something called hypoxic inducible factor, which is related to the change in pressure of the oxygen. Yeah. And then that causes VEGF, which is an incredible angiogenic signal from your body. And it's short for vascular endothelial growth factor. And it's really like fertilizer for your blood vessels. So this HIF-1 alpha activates the VEGF, and then you increase your microcirculation. Now, traditionally, the way people gain muscle mass, and this is what I knew just literally like last year, it was my understanding, and the understanding right now of probably 99.9% of physicians, is that the only way to increase muscle mass is through traditional, conventional, high-load resistance training or strength training. And that's with the barbells and the dumbbells, and you need to move a lot of weight relative to your strength. And that typically is somewhere between 70 to 85% of your what's called a 1 rep max. And that is simply the amount of weight that you can only do 1 repetition of. If it was a little bit more weight, you couldn't do 1. And if it was a little bit less, you can do more than 1. So that's the sweet spot. That's your maximum. And that changes with time, of course. As you get stronger, that number will change. But so that's your mark, and that's the common goal. And so you do 70, 85% of that. So if you could lift 100 pounds on a deadlift, you'd lift 70, 75 pounds, 80 pounds. And that would you do multiple reps of that. And that's what's considered high load resistance training. That works. No question that works. That's how all the bodybuilders do. That's what the powerlifters do, and it works. There's several problems with it. One, it's a lot of weight, and most everyone gets injured eventually. Yeah. Some injury. And then 2, probably even more significant, is that elderly people cannot do that. They physically are incapable of doing that. So if my parents' life depended on it, there is no way they're going to lift that much weight to get the benefits. Yeah. So then, essentially, what are you going to do? You're between a rock and a hard place. Essentially there's nothing to do. At least that's what I thought. But it turns out this very clever Japanese scientist named Dr. Sato, 55 years ago in Japan, figured out an alternative strategy. I think he should get the Nobel Prize for this. He was doing this for like 40 years in Japan. He only speaks Japanese and reads and writes Japanese. So it really stuck in Japan. It didn't get out until about maybe a little over 10 years ago into the United States. It's relatively new, which is why virtually no one knows about it except hardcore exercisers and physical therapists. And unfortunately, when it got into this country, well, I want to go into there's just not enough time to go into this, deep into the weeds. But anyway, what he developed is something called katsu. It's a Japanese word. It's why it sounds weird, and you would never know what it means, but it means additional pressure, and it's spelled Kaatsu. And essentially, it's bands that his system is inflatable bands. They have a little mechanical device that inflates the band, almost like a blood pressure cuff, except it's much thinner and it's not a tourniquet, so it doesn't obstruct your blood flow completely. The band is thin enough, it's not or too wide, so that it doesn't stop all the blood flowing into muscle. It only stops about 50% of the blood, but it does stop all the blood from the veins returning back to the heart. So what happens is you've got this partial obstruction on and there's two sets of bands, one you can put on your arms and the one on your legs, and you don't use it at the same time. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And while it's on, and you do these exercises, the exercises you do is called low load resistance training. And rather than 70 to 85% of weight, you're using 20% of weight, literally 75% less weight.
Yeah.
And in some cases, if you're elderly or frail, the only weight you're using is your own body. So like you might be doing bicep curls just like this. That's with no weight. Yeah. And you can get tremendous benefits because as you're exercising the muscle, it starts creating metabolic waste products, like lactic acid. And these waste products normally are shunted back to the heart and diffused through your circulation and metabolized. But when you have the bands attached, they can't do that. So they build up in the muscle, and it's a trick. Your body thinks it's working out really hard because it's getting these signals it would only see if you were doing that when you were working out really hard.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing hack. And it's such a low weight that you don't get injured at all. And the other benefit is that anyone who's done high load, heavy resistance training knows that you cannot do it every day. No, most of the time it's twice a week is about the limit. Some people can go to 3, but that's about it. If you're changing different body parts, you might be able to do a little more, but it's like you have to take 3 days off from when you do high load resistance training on a body part. With blood flow resistance training, the Katsu method, you can do it every day. It's so gentle because there's not a lot of muscle damage. You just it's this metabolic hack that you generate these waste products that cause changes, hormonal changes in your body that signal it and to tell your body to increase that microcirculation, improve the circulation to the stem cells. It increases things like IGF-1 in the muscle, which is which triggers growth hormone. And there's this other really interesting hormone. You might have heard of it before. Some people have. It's called myostatin. Have you heard of myostatin?
I had not. I had heard it, I think, from doing a little bit of research on this, but that's the only time. So what is that?
So if you break down what the word, the etymology of the word, myostatin, myo means muscle and statin means stop. So it basically stops muscle growth. It's a hormone that tends to increase with age. So it sort of sabotages your ability to build muscle mass. Mm-hmm. And so the higher the levels, the harder it is to build any muscle. Basically,
can you test that?
Yeah, you can test it. I don't know that it's a commercial test that's available. It's certainly a research assay that can be done. So, and it may be commercially available. There's not really a reason to test it because, there are drugs that lower it artificially, but with the way it's manipulated, typically, at least in the laboratory model, is there's genes that we have that make this. And they typically become more activated when you age, so you make more of it. So you can knock those genes out through a variety of methods genetically in certain animal models, like in mice and cows and dogs, horses. And when you knock that gene out, they don't make myostatin anymore. So the brakes are off, and they just make muscle like they're going to the races. And you could look it up, myostatin inhibited mice or rats or cows. You look it up in your search engine on the images, and you'll see pictures of these unbelievably muscular creatures that is just almost physically impossible to do. So anyway, the reason I'm going on that tangent is that when you do this blood flow restriction training properly, you inhibit myostatin levels by 50%, which is just insane. 50%.
Is there any other way that you can get something like that?
Not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, there may be drugs. I haven't studied it carefully enough and done a deep dive on myostatin inhibitors. I know that the primary way, as I said, is to do a genetic knockout for an animal and remove the gene in their tissues that actually makes this. Because if you don't have the gene, you can't make it. So I don't know that there's drugs that do it. If they are, they're
Well,
toxic.
I mean, any other way other than,
Oh, no, I just the exercise. That's what
okay.
So normally when you do strength training, typically it's not considered high intensity exercise, but when you do the blood flow restriction training, as I said, you're only doing 20%, so it's pretty lightweight. But with regular high load resistance training, you're going up to maybe just 10 reps. That's it. Maybe you might do two or three sets, but it's like 10 reps. That's no more than that. And there's different ways you can do it. You could do super slow or really slow or moderately slow. So that changes it somewhat. But with the blood flow restriction training, you're doing many, many repetitions. So instead of doing 10 sets, you're doing 30. And then you do like 3 sets of 30, so like 90 repetitions. So now it doesn't take a lot of time because normally you're only doing, if you're doing an arm workout, it's just like 15 minutes. That's it. And for most people watching, especially if you're over 60, you're not going to be using weights probably much more than 10 or 15 pounds. I mean, if you're using a 20-pound weight, you're pretty muscular to do a bicep.
And you're talking about, well, how much weight do you use, for example, Dr. McCullough?
I use a 20-pound weight for bicep curls, and for chest, a bench press or chest presses, I use a 25-pound weight. And that's all that I need for a stimulus. Now, normally I could do, for bicep curl, I could do maybe 55, 60 pounds, just is my 1 rep max. And with the bench press, it might be 185 or so. But so I do 225, that's 50 pounds. So it's really lightweight. It's, I said, it's the beautiful thing, benefit of this is it's like almost impossible to get injured, because achieving high levels of muscle mass is a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is something you want to do the rest of your life. So you when you start the program, you do it slow, you build up carefully, and you just never want to get injured. I mean, it is more than likely possible, if you do it the right way, you will never get injured from doing this. So then, if you're smart, as many of your viewers probably are,
yes,
they'll be cautious and say, "Wait a minute, you're putting a tourniquet on your arm.
Yeah.
What if am I going to get a blood clot?" Good question. Well, because as I alluded to earlier, there's different systems. The Katsu system, when I purchased it last year, actually, no, this year, I just purchased it like in May or April.
So since May, you've built that much muscle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you probably have noticed a change in weight because muscle weighs more than fat. I don't know if that's a myth, but that's what I've been told.
I was trying to gain muscle, and you don't. Let me assure you that conventional strength training after 60 and eating more food doesn't work. What will happen is that you will gain fat and you won't gain muscle.
Yes.
So what I did is, I've actually basically, since I've been doing this, and the other benefit of having more muscle mass that I neglected to mention, not only does it control insulin resistance, but 70% of our country is overweight or obese, and 85% are pre-diabetic. So this will sort of, it's really one of the fixes and the solutions for the weight loss, because the more muscle you have, the more easy it is to burn fat. And let me give you a personal example. I mean, I was trying, in my effort to gain more muscle, I was probably getting up to 185 or so. And now I'm down to 176 and much more muscular. So I must have gained 15, 20 pounds of muscle mass just in the process. And here's the key thing. If I'm weighing about 176 pounds, but if I eat less than 3,600 calories, which is, quite a bit of calories, I will lose weight. I ate 3,600 calories yesterday and I lost a pound.
And you eat it in a very short period of time. You eat it like in what?
Yeah,
4 to 6 hours?
That's another fine tune of this. I typically was doing 4 hours when I met you, but I since then have readjusted. I had another epiphany. I'm always having epiphanies on my health journey. And I still think 4 hours is great. And if you're overweight, I think that is a radically powerful strategy to strive for. And even then go beyond that, maybe do 1 or 2 days a week where you're not eating food at all until you reach your optimal weight. And then once you're at your optimal weight, it becomes a different story, because if you don't have fat to lose, it's a problem. You're going to start losing muscle. So what I'm doing now is 2 days a week, I do 4 hours. 1 day a week, I do 8 hours. And then 5 days a week, I do 6 hours. So, but always less than 8 hours. And certainly, 90% of the people eat more than 12 hours. So let me give you another tip if you're interested in this, that will really help, because the reason you want to have time restricted eating is you're going to activate a really powerful metabolic pathway called autophagy. which is essentially self-eating of the broken and damaged cellular parts in your that get clog up your system. And if you don't activate autophagy, so in other words, if you're eating for 14, 16 hours a day, and the first thing you do when you get up is eat, and the last thing you do before you go to bed is eat, you're not activating autophagy. So you need to activate that. It's a really important thing. But then you also need to activate mTOR, which is like a seesaw. If you activate autophagy, mTOR is inhibited. If you activate mTOR, autophagy is inhibited. So, and you need to activate mTOR, which is the mammalian target of rapamycin, if you're going to build muscle. You've got to eat protein. And so, like most in business, certainly, as I'm sure you're aware of, timing is everything, and sequencing. So you could do the right things, but if you do them in the wrong order, you're sabotaging yourself. So
when you're intermittent fasting, that activates autophagy, and that's mTOR is the seesaw, the balance that creates the balance.
You're activating autophagy and you're inhibiting mTOR.
Okay.
So now, normally, if you do that for 2 or 3 days, which is a fast, 2 or 3 day fast, you do that really extremely, your ketone levels go real high. So I'm going to tell you a little trick that you can essentially get all the benefits of a 2 to 3 day total fast by only time restricted eating for like 18 hours. Okay. And that is that right before you're going to eat. So you haven't eaten for 18, 20 hours. Right before that, you do the blood flow restriction training. You exercise really hard, because that will really push the pedal down on inhibiting mTOR and activating autophagy. So it's almost like a 2 or 3 day fast when you do that. And you could do that almost every day. It's crazy. Now you may want to do it, if you're not at optimal weight, as most of your listeners probably are, then definitely I would shoot for 4 hours. If I was not optimal weight, I'd be definitely doing a 4-hour daily fast. Okay. But I've been at optimal weight for a long time now, so for years, and it's not an issue for me. And many of us who are trying to obsessively compulsive optimize our health tend to overdo things, and I think that's what I was doing. So once you're at your ideal weight, you got to be careful. You got to back off. Because when you have to activate mTOR a little bit more, especially you get older, because you got to get that balance correct, and it's different probably for everyone. You want to engage in this process relatively slowly and toe in the water and do it, because again, this is a long-term commit. This is the prescription that will literally change your life, not just a little bit, but dramatically on steroids. DOS is not digital operating system from Microsoft. This is dramatically on steroids.
You've created your own. There we go.
There you go.
So hacking the body, like, when you were talking about the highest rep or the highest weight for 1 rep, whatever that is.
1 rep.
I was going through, I did some personal training. I was like one class with this guy, and he was saying that a way to trick the brain is to get the heaviest weight that you can, even if you can't bring it up all the way, you do as many reps as you can, and you put it down, and then you go down 1 weight, and then you do as many reps as you can.
That's a whole different thing. That's high load resistance training.
Is that what that is? Okay.
It's high load, yeah, because you're very close to your 1 rep max. So I mean, normally you don't recommend. That's like 105% of your 1 rep max, but normally it's only 70 to 85%, and that works. There's no question. That historically is what people done. That's what most people do today.
Get injured.
But you don't have to do that. And it's. I want to make it really clear that it's not like one or the other. You either do blood flow restriction or you do high load. You can do them both. I do both.
Okay.
So 2 days a week. Today's a Monday, so I do high load resistance training twice a week, and on those days I don't do blood flow resistance training. So I think there's benefit to doing both. But for most people who just don't like going to the gym or just really want the minimal time, then just do the blood flow restriction. That's all you really need. If you're obsessive compulsive like me, or you really want to push it, then you can do the high resistance training.
Now, when you're doing the bands, because as I was doing some research on the blood restricted blood flow restriction, it concerned me, because you think of tourniquets as restricting the blood flow, then you get your injection or whatever, the blood, they draw the blood. Excuse me?
There's no injections.
No. When you think of like that restriction, you think of being blood drawn, a tourniquet, and all that.
This is not a tourniquet.
Yeah.
Although it's just a slight little tangent. The physical therapists, when they picked this up, they didn't copy Dr. Sato's recommendation. They made their own. They used a surgical tourniquet, and they use those, and they call it blood flow restriction, but it really isn't. It's two different things. And if you see a physical therapist, they've got these wide, like, blood pressure cuffs, and that is a lot more dangerous, and I do not recommend them.
Well, let's talk about that, because, you know, there's as I was looking at it, and you're doing, and you can go to Mercola.com or bfr.mercola.com.
And I should have a 25-page PDF that you can download. We'll give you all the details on this, because I know this is a lot of information. It's information overload. And especially if it's the first time you've heard about it, your head's spinning. So, you know, that's why we've created that document.
Yeah. And so I was looking at
selling anything. I don't sell this equipment. I have links to where you can purchase it, but we don't sell it. I'm not selling it. Okay. So this is not a little gimmick to sell my little BFR bands.
Yeah. So you put these bands on the parts that you are going to be exercised. So if you're doing the arms, is it the same, or do you have the bigger bands for the legs?
So the bands for the legs are about twice the width.
So there's 4 bands that you get.
Yes.
And then they're attached to a
compressor. I should have brought it up. I'm sorry I didn't. But you can look it up. It's on there. It's called KATSU, KATSU, Cycle 2.0, which is a new device, which is literally 1/3 of what I paid. 1/3, and much, much better than what I paid just 6 months ago. So this device is the bomb. It's just crazy. I bought a bunch of them for my friends and family for Christmas presents. So
nice.
They liked it a lot too.
The price point is about $800, right?
Yeah. So it may sound like a lot, but these bands are like about $100 a piece just to create these bands. They're very difficult to make and manufacture. And it took them like 10 years to develop the bands. It's just not like a blood pressure band.
So it's a very thin band, and it's inflatable. How does the system know where to stop?
Oh, you just, the device, the compressor that is a little computer. So you just punch in whatever the numbers are. So you can program it. So when you're starting, you start at very low levels, and then you build up. So, because you never want to have pain, tingling, numbness. That's too much, because you're putting pressure on the nerves. So you should never be in pain when you're doing this. You should be mildly uncomfortable because you're pushing yourself. It's exercise. I'm not going to say it's like laying on the couch, watching TV and eating cookies, but it's a push. So, and it's only 15 minutes, and you feel so good after.
So you just do 15 minutes of arm exercises? Is that what you do with these bands, or do you? Okay, but you're doing.
Too. There's 2 ways you can do it. That what I just described is a training mode. And there's a cycling mode, which you can only do with KATSU. It goes on and off. It inflates for 30 seconds and deflates for 5, and it does like 8 cycles of that. And then you could do that indefinitely. You can do that for hours. Like I do that on my legs. I'll go on the beach and walk for an hour, and I have that on my legs, and it cycles on and off. And you can do that regularly. So I do a lot of movement. I probably do maybe an hour, and I do cycling on my arms when I do stretches and other activities. So maybe an hour and a half a day. But literally for strength, you probably only need 15 minutes to do it.
It's fascinating. So that was one of the things when you think of these bands and they're inflating, the first thing I thought of, okay, warning. What are some of the things that you look at? And you said if there's any tingling, if there's any numbness, then it's too tight, but the system knows where to stop. And as a result, you're able to.
You're total control. And if it's uncomfortable for any reason, you can always stop it, like with one button. It's easy.
Yeah. And so then with the squats, when you're doing squats, you have this, and it's close to, do you know where to put them? Is it like near the armpit, near the arm, and near the buttocks and the legs?
It's on the arm. It's right where the biceps begin and the
so it's right.
Ends.
Okay. So you would have to figure out where.
If you don't have a lot of fat, you can see where it delineates.
Yeah. So you see where the muscle is, and you go right above the bicep.
No, above, closer to your armpit.
Yes, closer to the armpit, above the bicep, right? So
you don't want to really put it on the bicep, because that will
between where the muscle ends.
Where the deltoid is the triangle muscle on your shoulder, where that ends and the bicep begins.
Okay, so with all that in mind, you're not, because sometimes when I look at these bodybuilders with this high weight, they're like really pushing it. So with you, you're not It's
no,
not like,
you're still pushing it. You're just pushing.
because you were huffing and puffing when you were doing your exercises, when you were done with your
Oh
exercise.
yeah, this is the way you know you're doing it correctly. You will be sweating, you will be out of breath, and your heart rate will be increased. If that isn't happening, you're not pushing hard enough. So you're just pushing hard enough with a really light weight.
Yeah.
The light weight is not going to get you injured, and it's not going to impair muscle tearing so that you can't work out the next day.
So it's hacking the brain
with like none of the downsides.
Yeah. So it's hacking the brain into thinking.
It's tricking your body, but you still need to push it hard. You're good. It's a lot of effort. There's no question. I'm not going to.
So when you're doing the reps, because you were on a fast motion thing, when you're doing the reps, are you doing them fast or no, slow?
Actually slower, like 1 or 2 seconds, up 1 second.
And you're doing 30 reps.
Yeah, and then you wait like 15 to 30 seconds, and you do another 30, and you wait to 30 seconds, 15 to 30, and you do another 30. And then you go on to a different exercise.
Okay.
And usually it's an opposing exercise. So if you're doing bicep curls, then you would do tricep extensions.
Okay.
Do bench press for one. Then you would do bent over rows where you're getting your back in. Or you could even do pull-ups, so assisted pull-ups, because, most people can't do 30 pull-ups. I can't. I could do 20 pull-ups, which unassisted, but
I can do 30 pull-ups if I have a real strong guy pushing me up and down.
Or they have actually machines now that they call us.
I know. Yeah. That it's like I'm balancing like half my weight. I'm trying to do a pull-up. But good. Those are
I learned that I wear a weight belt. So normally I do pull-ups with like 30 pounds on a weight belt. I'll do crank out 10 of those. And that helps. When you take that belt off, you feel like you're like there's no gravity. It's like, whoa, I could so easy.
Yeah. And so, okay. So when you're doing the legs, where do you put the bands on the legs?
It's pretty much where you'd have a bikini, as close to your groin as possible.
Okay. So when you're doing that, does it affect how it feels when you're when you're squatting? A
little bit? You'll feel pressure there because it's, definitely. But
in your manual, in that you don't, for those of you who would like to learn more, you can go to bfr.mercola.com. And if you register onto Dr. Mercola's site, you get a PDF. It's
like 30-page PDF.
Yeah, about 18 pages. Yeah, it's really good. And
and that's a summary. I've got interviews like 5 world-class experts coming up in January, and I've done like 2 hours of videos that explains it. That may not be on that PDF. I don't know. I haven't seen it for a bit, but there's a lot of instructional videos to help you understand how to do it, because there's a lot of confusion on this. Even if you go and try to, I spent 3 months. I've got my next book comes out in February. It's on EMF. It's called EMF apostrophe D. It's done in February, and you can go. We don't have time to talk about it now, but if you go to emf.mercola.com, you can get chapter 7 for free, which is how to remediate against the dangers of EMF and why. The book tells about why it's important and why you don't know about it, and it's powerful stuff. But I'm not writing any more books for maybe 10 more years. I'm taking the time off from it. And I'm going to just write reviews.
For real? Even if it comes back to.
Nope.
No. Okay.
I have a new strategy, which is writing review papers. And the reason I tangented to mention this is that the first review paper I wrote was on BFR. So it took me about 4 to 5 months, and I just searched the literature, and I wrote what I believe is the best review on blood flow restriction paper ever written. And it's in the process now of being submitted for journal review, but it's like it's almost 300 references, 30 pages. It really goes into science deeply, and explains why it works and how it works, and history and all the details in that. So, that's what I'm doing with these little topics now, that I really want to go dive deep and understand it.
Yeah.
Really fine levels.
I had mentioned to you that I was sent this EMR machine to test. It's a multi-field EMR meter. Yeah. And they actually sent me 2. This is a very inexpensive one, and this is a little bit more expensive.
What's the name of that? What do they call it?
Well, I'll tell you off the air, but okay. But I turned it on, and I just don't know how to read it. In your book, are you going to be talking about that?
Well, we have a whole, I think, part of a chapter that talks about meters, which one's how, because you're right. These frequencies are essentially invisible. We can't see them, hear them, or feel them. So the only way you can know if you're being exposed to them is to have a meter and measure it. And there's like 3 different types of meters you need, one for radio frequencies, one for magnetic fields, and another for dirty electricity. So we go into each of those categories and make recommendations for you. Although probably only, well, all 3 would be good. Probably the radio frequency is one of the most important, but magnetic fields are important too, because they can really be devastating.
Yeah, it's so confusing. So I'm glad that you're diving deeper into this, because
Oh, yeah. The book took me 3 years to write. It was a long.
Wow. How big is this book? How many pages?
I think it's over 300 pages. So.
Oh, well, that's good. So it's manageable
Yes,
as
we
well.
did the illustrations.
You did?
Yeah, I did it in PowerPoint. So I just like created these tables and graphs and pathways to show how the damage is very similar in X-rays to EMF exposure from your wireless phone or your router. So it's almost identical. So when there's no dispute that X-rays cause ionizing radiation can cause cancer and biological damage, but they're disputing that non-ionizing radiation or your cell phone doesn't, and it's not true. And I go into the molecular mechanisms in the book and describe why that's the case.
I still giggle, Dr. Mercola. A couple of years ago, you were giving a talk at the ACIM, or no, it was the best answers for no, not the best. Yeah, the best answer for cancer. You were giving a talk, and you were asking everybody to turn off their cell phone, put it on airplane mode. And during your presentation, your phone rang, which was so cute. And it's like, oh, busted. Here we go. But it was so funny. We all laughed so hard.
I know. See, that was the intention, because that was planned. Because when you're
it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
When you're teaching, as an educator, you have to, your goal is to share information, but you can't share information unless people are entertained.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I still giggle about it every time we take a picture together. Is your phone on airplane mode? And yes, it is. So if you ever around Dr. Mercola, make sure that your phone is on airplane mode.
And it's not just to appease me. It's for your own
ourself as well.
You're sabotaging your health. I mean, you are really. It's like putting a mini cell phone tower on your body. Once you understand this, you will just like be shaking your head in disbelief that you were doing that.
Yeah, and just recently, and you and I talked about this at the ACIM conference. Clint Ober has been in the classroom. I have become an affiliate sponsor. They're an affiliate sponsor of the classroom with the ground therapy mats. And once I started learning about not just the EMFs, but how we are antennas as well, that became an obsession of mine. I want to ground as much as I can, as often as I can. I live by the beach, so it's real easy for me to do that, but not as often as I would like. And so with that in mind, we are antennas. We are antennas, and these EMFs are, whether we see it or not, they're affecting our body. Do you think that maybe that contributes to disrupting our muscle tone and our body when we are trying to work out? And
muscles is your whole biology is decimated, because it increases something called oxidative damage in your tissue. So that's a global systemic impact, and muscles are certainly part of that, but it's your entire biology that's impacted with this thing. So I would be really careful. I'm a little bit concerned about authentic grounding like you and I do in the ocean. I literally walk pretty much every day in the ocean. I mean, not on the shore. I mean, literally my feet are submerged, but up to 6 to 12 inches on my the water is where I'm walking through.
Yeah, so many people are walking the beach with their sneakers on, and I'm like, take off your shoes.
In the water, and then I go swimming in the ocean too.
Yeah.
So
because of the salt. The salt.
That is an authentic grounding. That is the best grounding you get in the world. The grounding that you do by plugging into devices in North America, I believe, is challenged. It's certainly less than optimal.
Well, you do need to make sure that the outlet is grounded, right?
No, it's not. Nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that we have something called dirty electricity in North America as a result of the way electrical transmission occurs. Clint Ober strongly disagrees with this, but I'm in the process of coordinating intervention for Clint to help him understand and show him this, because he refuses to acknowledge it. But we're going to, because I love Clint. He's a good guy. He's a good man. He's high integrity.
And it's, so.
See, but I just think he's mistaken on this concept. So if
Well, you
you're
know what? Why don't you guys both come on the classroom?
no. This is a long process. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And we
Oh.
have to coordinate this. It's going to require a lot of effort and energy. And I've got the technical people to show him what the concern is. And then he's going to have his technical. So it's a long process.
Well, I have, the people that have bought the mats, I have my own testimonial. It's been wonderful, but we make sure that, and I don't know what dirty electricity is versus being grounded or going
it's
through.
a complex topic. And even if you plug these things into the ground, with a copper rod, it's still the same issue because the dirty electricity is in the ground. It's not just in your house. It's almost the entire North America is contaminated unless you're into an ocean or a body of salt water that dissipates that charge.
Yeah.
So,
well, I would love to see and see where that ends up. I just know of the wonderful testimonials that I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with as well. And the two of you coming together and creating even something better.
Yeah, because there may be some ways to mitigate against that, but because grounding fundamentally is an unbelievable concept.
Yeah.
But almost anywhere else in North America, it works great. But in North America, the electric utility companies sabotage us.
It's amazing all the things that are so good for us. And I want to just take a little moment here to say, just like Dr. Mercola doesn't have a Facebook page anymore, you just never know. It's so nice that he has a website, mercola.com, that you can go and check out. So the same thing is what I'm saying with me as well. Go to whenyounneedafriend.com. Please become a subscriber, because with all the different things, he's talking about North America and all the different things that happen to kind of sabotage the health and the wellness of the people that we're not, we don't even know what we don't know. So please subscribe to whenyounneedafriend.com as well, and check out my social media. Like me, follow me there, YouTube, but at least stay with whenyounneedafriend.com, because at least you'll stay connected if anything in the future happens. So what I am looking forward to is also sharing about my sponsors, because these are people and companies, corporations that have taken a stand and said, we want a new truth out there. There's so much marketing out there that is to control you and not give you the truth about health and wellness and how your body was beautifully made to heal itself. And so those are companies like, Liberty Health Share, Keep Me Safe Organics, beauty products that are all organic, natural, non-synthetic. And you get, of course, when you check out the website, you'll see that there's percentage off. First Alternative Care, Dr. Stephen Grable, who is also a graduate of ACIM, the pharmacy in Merritt Island, Live Longer Medical, and of course, Ground Therapy. These are all companies that have come together, groups or people, individuals that have said, we are taking a stand with this information, but that's not, and so please support them the way that they are supporting the classroom. Also, you too can become an enrolled student. So I want to encourage you to also check out how you can help the show, whether it's your time, your talent, or your treasure. So I want to thank you, Dr. Mercola. You have been very inspiring to me. I want to look into getting some of those muscles like you have. I really, truly, when you sat next to me in the back when we were listening to, I think, Dr. Bush, Zachary Bush, I wanted to go I wanted to squeeze your arm, but I didn't do it because I do have an edit package, because I had seen how much you have bulk up. So I had to know what you were doing, because if you just started at the middle of this year, it's working. It really is working. It
really is. I think isn't it? And sadly, not sadly, but one of my passions is longevity, to live well beyond 100 and in a health with all the abilities.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty confident that a high level of muscle mass is an integral part of that solution. And many of the people who have a similar interest in longevity don't fully appreciate that component of it yet. So it's my mission to help them understand that, because it really is a critical part of the equation.
Yes, absolutely. So as we go into 2020 clear vision, what is your wish for all of your followers, my followers, to become aware when it comes to muscle and building it for ourselves?
to know that you can do it, that even if you're over 60, and if you're under 60 in your 30s, 40s, 50s, I'm suspecting your parents are still alive. So know that you need to take care of them. It's your responsibility. As a child, they took care of you when you were a child. You need to return the favor and help them, and know that this tool exists. It could literally change your life. And remember, when your parents are gone, they are gone forever.
Yeah.
So you want to have no regrets on this one, and know that there was something you can do. And I have some regrets. Unfortunately, I didn't know. I can't blame myself. I didn't know, but you know now there's a tool out there that will literally add 5 or 10 years of healthy life, and probably prevent osteoporosis, sarcopenia, Alzheimer's. These are the things you need to do.
Yes, yes. I love the osteoporosis, that most people don't know that they can reverse that too.
Yeah.
So
because BFR works for that too. It works for osteoporosis.
So go to bfr.mercola.com to learn more. And Dr. Mercola, I know that we have a hard out of 2:00 because you're such a busy person. So I want to thank you for your time today. And I want to wish you and your beautiful significant other, Erin Elizabeth, happy and prosperous New Year.
Well, thank you.
Yes. And so for those of you, please know that you are enough to figure this out. If anybody tells you that you are going to get weak and decrepit and old just because of your chronological age, you've been lied to. There are things that you can do to prolong that decay in your body. And so I want to wish all of you this incredible wellness and health. So thank you, Dr. Mercola. I want to make sure that I'm very conscious about your 2 p.m. hard out, and give you a little bit of extra time. But so thank you so much, Dr. Mercola, for everything that you're doing to help people and empower people as well.
Thank you, Lily.
Yes.
That's really good in here.
Yes, and as Dr. Mercola goes, I'm going to continue joining you afterwards. So if you're watching or listening on podcast, or if you're watching later on YouTube, you're welcome to come to facebook.com/Lillian's radio show so that we can be in the class together. Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Joe Mercola wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Best ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, isn't he amazing? He is so amazing. Love Dr. Joseph Mercola. Again, as I say to all of you, one size does not fit all. You need to figure out what works for you. But I am very curious about how this katsu, or it's called blood flow resistance. So for those of you who joined later in the broadcast, in the class, just know that this is restricted. It's your blood flow restriction as you are lifting lighter weight than you normally would. And so it is I saw an amazing change in Dr. Mercola, and I swear I wanted to squeeze his muscles, because the first time I met him, he seemed that he was didn't have as many muscles as he did today, or when I saw him a couple weeks ago. And I just had to say, come on down. So many different ways that we can take our health back. And thank you, Kimberly, for I just want to see, little Rosie Sunshine. I haven't seen you in a while. I just want to say hello. And Kimberly and Maria, Patty, thank you so much. And Margaret Parker, thank you so much for joining us. And these bands, I saw that you had asked that question. And Kimberly, thank you for answering. These are bands that you put outside your garment, your workout garment, and it tightens so that you have restricted flow of your blood. And that activates different, he said that it helps, you're just going to have to check it out. But it helps your muscles, it hacks your muscles and your body into thinking you're lifting up heavier weight than you are, so decreasing injury in your body. So there's so many different ways that we can build muscle, building muscle, as he talked about sarcopenia, osteoporosis, and we didn't even talk about how it helps build testosterone, hormones, and when your muscles are going really well, if you're a well-oiled machine, it's going to help other parts of your body, including increasing testosterone. And women, we need testosterone too. Don't think that you don't, but we do. And so thank you so much. Hey, Victoria, so nice to see you. Galina, you're all coming out now. You're all coming out now. I know that Dr. Mercola spoke, there's a lot of information to learn. He has a video on his YouTube channel that you can see how he puts the bands on and he works out with these bands. I'm going to reach out to them. I want to do a class on this, just on the bands and what kind of exercises you can do, because I'm intrigued to be able to do 5 pounds and it be the equivalent of 70% more of what I would be able to lift. That to me is, or I don't even know if I've said that correctly, but you just don't have to stress your body with all the load that would take to now build a muscle. So check it out. And I'm so grateful to all of you Teacher's Pet that have stuck around a little bit longer. As I know that Dr. Mercola had a 2 o'clock hard out, and I wanted to respect that. But if you have any questions for Dr. Mercola, we're going to get him back in February. We're going to talk about EMFs and this dirty electricity that I want to look into as well. And Clint Ober says no. Dr. Mercola says yes. And so, like I said, we need to follow what makes sense to us. Look at the evidence, look at the research. I know personally, and from other people who have done the ground therapy, this is, if you can go to the beach and ground at the beach like Dr. Mercola, you can go out to the beach every day and do that, maybe twice a day, 45 minutes to half an hour a day. That's great. I don't have the time for that. So the mats work incredible for me. I know that if I've pushed myself too hard during the day and I start feeling a little joint or some pain, I look forward to going and sliding into my bed with my mats. I want to encourage you guys to also learn a lot about it. It's so important. And here's something that, and he said it's not really about that, but it's the outlet, the plugs. And you want to make sure that those plugs are grounded, because it will set off 2 amber lights, and those 2 amber lights will tell you if you are grounded or not. I think let me see if I have it in here or not. Nope, don't have it here. Oh yeah, I do. Okay, so here's and it's not in here. My voltage meter testing. It's not my voltage meter testing. It's not in here. Yep, it is. Yay. Okay. So every mat comes with this, and this tests to see if if your outlet is grounded. If the outlet is grounded, the 2 amber lights do come on, and that means that that it is grounded and it's safe. So I'll have to look into a little bit more about this dirty electricity that has been a separation, because I know that I've received so many transformative testimonials for what ground therapy has done for them. And so I'm excited it's better than nothing, I would say, and better than most. So I want to encourage you to go to my page at Lillian's, it's either whenyouneedafriend.com, it'll convert to LillianMcDermott.com, but go to my Shop Now page. I love it. I think it's the best. Go to the ground therapy. Give the gift of health this year. We give so many gifts that get thrown away or are just a fad, but giving the gift of grounding when you're not able to is, to me, the best gift that you could give anyone. So I want to encourage you. Let me see. What did you have to say, Victoria? My sister with acute hip pain was better after 30 minutes on the grounding mat. That is awesome. Was that your sister? Yes, your sister, not your sister-in-law. That's wonderful. So there is, I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to end up with Dr. Mercola and Clint Ober. These things happen all the time. There are people who are Democrat and Republican, and they both are they have the same passion for, there are people that see blue, and there's people that see navy, and they're very passionate about that they see it a certain way. So I know what research I've done, and I'm sure Dr. Mercola has done his information as well. And these these are EMF meters that they were sent to me. I'm doing some research on this. I'm looking forward to getting Dr. Mercola back. But again, when you hear somebody say, whether it's me or Dr. Mercola or Clint Ober or Dr. Furman, who are just wonderful teachers in the classroom, if you check everything that they say, review it, check out the studies, do it yourself. Because when you do this yourself, now you're speaking your truth, not Dr. Mercola's truth, not my truth. But it's nice to know, with all the testimonials with the mat, I feel very confident that being on Clint's side for this one is pretty safe. And I would like to know about this dirty electricity that Dr. Mercola is talking about. He's actually, the book that he's doing is being released in February. He's coming back then. And the book is called EMF'd, which I think is funny. Anyway, so to be continued, the conversation of electromagnetic fields or electric and magnetic fields, and how they hurt our body. I have the voltage meter, and we are this like an antenna that we're like, right now I have so many lights around me. I have 2 computers in front of me. I have a laptop. I have a phone in front of me. So there's so many different things, and I'm absorbing all of this. But the good news is my feet are bare, and I've got my mat under my desk, and I am protected. And that's all that matters to me right now. And then we'll look at some more. But this is amazing, Victoria. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that you've received a lot of benefits for grounding as well. So we got talking on the grounding, the benefits of grounding. So I want to encourage you to go to whenyounneedafriend.com, the shopping bag, that's there. Pretty soon they'll be in my sponsors page as well, because they are affiliate sponsor. And just check them out and give the gift. And if you live in the state of Florida, you live close to me. I live in Cape Canaveral, but if you live near me, and we have some mats that we've already purchased, and it takes about a week or so to order it online. And if you order it online, let me know. I'll get you a code that gives you free shipping. So if you live in Montana or California or wherever it is that you live, you can at least order it. And if you reach out to me, I can give you the code so that you can get free shipping. But if you live in the state of Florida and you would like to give it as a gift, I have leftovers that we did an event. We have some mats that are left over, but hurry up and claim it. And I can meet you wherever it is to give you your mat. If that's what you would like to give for Christmas. We give lots of gifts, but do we give the gift of health? So think about that as we enter 2020, and I hope that you will do your own research, do your own homework, and I hope that you can start building some muscle as well as you start feeling better with the grounding mats as well. So for now, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about my top growing experiences. So that's going to be tomorrow at 8 Eastern time. My aha moments of 2019, and we're going to have Matt Bellis joining us at the beginning to share his aha moments as well when it comes to Liberty Health Share. And so it should be very, very enlightening for me, as well as for anyone who is open to learn about my experiences. So I look forward to seeing you soon. See you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Hope you can join us then. Bye.